So Chris Hayes had April Ryan on his show a couple days ago. April Ryan is, let me get her credentials. A journalist, White House correspondent, and Washington bureau chief for American Urban Radio Networks. Okay, sounds legit. She seems like she's probably, a good journalist, typical good Washington journalist. But let's just get into it. So this is the first clip. This kind of sets up the conversation. This is where Chris Hayes is discussing Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders' chances against Donald Trump. So let's watch.
Under a kind of presumption that the nominee is finally this sort of dawning awareness is probably going to be Trump. And you got to think that makes voters a little risk averse. Voters that may have been inclined to vote for Bernie Sanders, sort of going with what's more familiar, what they know in the sort of face of that kind of threat.
Okay, so that's him setting up the conversation. He's about to talk to, or April Ryan's about to give her answer. So listen to her answer. You're not going to understand what I'm going to get at until after you hear her respond, and then I start talking about it. But just hear what she has to say.
Well, Chris, I'm glad you brought that up because I asked him about Donald Trump and the fact that the RNC is hopeful that Bernie Sanders would win the nomination, but expecting Hillary Clinton to win the nomination. And he said, the RNC may not need to count their chickens too fast. He said, because if you look at the polls, he said, he may not have the numbers that Hillary Clinton has as it comes to going against Donald Trump, but he still would win.
Okay, so what she's saying there is that she was talking to Bernie Sanders about his chances against Donald Trump. And she made a very weird comment that I picked up on while I was watching this. She said that Bernie Sanders said that his chances aren't as good against Donald Trump as Hillary Clinton, but he still beats Donald Trump. It's true that he still beats Donald Trump, but it's not true that his numbers aren't as good as Hillary Clinton's. They're actually consistently way better than Hillary Clinton's. So, do I believe April Ryan had a conversation with Bernie Sanders? Yes, I don't think she would make that up. But did she misremember the conversation? She absolutely did. Because here are the facts. I'm going to isolate that end part of that clip again before we get into to understanding what she said wrong here.
If you look at the polls, he said he may not have the numbers that Hillary Clinton has as it comes to going against Donald Trump.
Okay. He may not have the numbers that Hillary Clinton has going up against Donald Trump. Okay, so let's check the numbers. So here is the last 4 polls from the middle of February up until 27th. So CNN ORC, Clinton against Donald Trump is a +8. Sanders is a +12. Fox News poll, Clinton a +5. Sanders +15. USA Today, Clinton is a -2. Sanders is only a -1. And Quinnipiac, Clinton +1, Sanders +6. So, do you want to tell me again who has better chances against Donald Trump in a general election matchup? Because it sounds to me like you got the facts completely wrong. I mean, here they are again. Let's check them out. Here we go. Sanders, multiple. I mean, we're not talking about like 1 point ahead of Clinton here. We're talking 8 versus 12, 5 versus 15, -1, -2. Okay, I'll give you that. That's a 1-point spread. But the rest of these numbers, it's multiples. So this averages out, and this is from realclearpolitics.com. These are multiple polls. You can check these numbers out yourself. I'm not making this shit up. Let's go to the average comparison. So poll average, +8 for Sanders, +3 for Clinton. Okay? +8, +3. Which one's the bigger number? +8, +3. So wait, what'd you have to say again?
If you look at the polls, he said he may not have the numbers that Hillary Clinton has as it comes to going against Donald Trump.
Okay, fine. So maybe those are just the last 4 polls, but before that she was, kicking his ass and it was all different. Oh, well, let's check those numbers out. Here you go. This dates back to, I can't even see these numbers. This is like July. So even going back as far as July, so Sanders does not beat Clinton in every poll. I mean, he doesn't. The first one here, public policy polling. Clinton is a +7, so this is from the beginning of February. Clinton's a +7. Sanders in the same poll is a +4. So she beats him slightly in, actually, it's just the PPP poll. So if you go down again, PPP, that's December, Trump +2, PPP on her side in December, it's +3. So that's the only poll where Clinton consistently beats Sanders. But all these other polls, we're talking back till mid-November, Sanders is consistently beating Clinton in every poll. So this is a Washington journalist who I assume is supposed to be doing her research and telling the American people what the facts are. Where are the facts in this conversation? So, I mean, she didn't seem like a terribly mean person or was doing it for any particular reason. So I nicely sent her a tweet. April Ryan, enjoyed you on Chris Hayes. Just a correction, Sanders outperforms Clinton in every poll against Trump. And I attached 2 pictures. Right now you're looking at the thumbnail, so when clicked on those thumbnails, they open up into how Clinton performs against Trump in the same polls I showed you, and how Sanders performs against Trump in the same polls that I showed you. And then I follow that up because it's always good to source your information. Followed it up with a link. Here's the source. Click on that link. It shows you Trump versus Sanders, and then there's a drop down where you can go to Clinton and see Clinton versus Trump. So I just sent that out hoping she would read that. Maybe it would inform her future appearances on any other shows or on radio or her journalism, whatever she does. She came back. I used earlier poll numbers. Okay. So we looked at the earlier poll numbers. I responded, curious how far back you went, as Sanders has outperformed Clinton against Trump since December. Outlier being PPP. Like I showed you, I'm being completely honest here. PPP is the one poll where Clinton beat Sanders. And I put that in my tweet because I didn't want to seem like, I wasn't giving her all the information. That's the information. That's the poll, the most recent poll where Clinton beats Sanders. All the other ones, it's Sanders beating Clinton. So let's go to the response to that. It was in the last 2 weeks. I chatted with the RNC in the last 2 weeks. Hillary and Bernie last week. Okay, so I first read this tweet, didn't know what the hell she was talking about, but because there's no commas, so it was kind of confusing. But in her conversation, she was discussing how she had talked to the RNC and she talked to Bernie Sanders. So here she's saying she talked to the RNC in the last 2 weeks, Hillary in the last 2 weeks, and Bernie last week. So this conversation that she is remembering and discussing on Chris Hayes, she said she had this conversation in the last week. Well, in the last week, Bernie is consistently beating, as he has been for the past few months, Clinton versus Trump in polls. So I respond, I wouldn't trust chats as hard data, as they were wrong. The poll numbers are public. And then she responds to that, get them true and compare as we all have, which I did. So I'm not really sure what she's talking about. Oh, and there's more. Stick with me here. So her response is, I love how other journalists not in the mix try to tell other journalists what is going on. First of all, I am not a journalist. I just want to make that clear. I am not a journalist. That is not what I do. But I'm quite flattered you think I am, so that's great. I'm a YouTube commentator. I'm just commenting. And the fact that I have the facts and you don't is actually pretty embarrassing. So I respond to that. You got the poll numbers wrong, and I politely corrected you. Apologies if you don't like being corrected. At this point, I can tell she was kind of frustrated from her response that I was correcting her, which is kind of odd because you would think a journalist would want the facts. I mean, I assume that's what journalists would want because they tell facts to the public. I mean, that's kind of part of their job. But okay, so it goes on. She responds again, no, depending, period, the polls. I assume she meant no, depending on. No, depending on the polls, look them up. Okay, I did. Let's look them up. Check the polls. Here. My initial tweet to you had the polls. They're right there. Did you see them? Did you click the pictures? They're right here. These pictures. These are the polls. Here's the full spread of them all. Check them. Did you see them? No, you didn't. So who's actually checking the polls here? So I responded, I'm guessing you didn't even look at the link I sent you. RealClearPolitics.com lines up every poll, as it does. So she responds to that, no, you didn't look at it. LOL, I am working. I have to run. This is April Ryan, journalist, White House correspondent, and Washington bureau chief for American Urban Radio Networks. Journalist, White House correspondent, Washington bureau chief. No, I didn't look at the numbers. Actually, I did. From the beginning, I looked at the numbers, and that's why I corrected you on the misinformation you were telling thousands of people on television. At this point, I'm annoyed, so I come back with a sarcastic tweet. Great, keep up the fact-based journalism. She replies to that. The poll you sent only had Bernie Sanders, not both Hillary and Bernie. Your objectivity is in. Again, let's look at the tweet that I sent her. They're both there. There is 2 thumbnails. When you click on them, they open up. That's one of them. There is Clinton's numbers in the initial tweet. And then I even linked to it. And when you click on the link, like I said, it's a page. It's a web page. If you're used to using the internet, you should probably know how to use this web page. You go there. This one is Trump versus Sanders, because I wanted to show her what Sanders' numbers were, because clearly she hadn't been looking at them, as that was the conversation that started this whole thing. And in there, you could also click on a drop-down that takes you to Hillary Clinton versus Trump. It's not that hard to figure out. So my objectivity is in. I am happily and clearly for Bernie, but that doesn't change the fact that you have the facts wrong, and I am right, and you're not looking at the numbers properly. This continues. That's why my initial tweet had 2 screenshots. I explained this to her so she would understand. They had 2 screenshots. Both links couldn't fit, plus my comments. As we all know, there's a 140 character limit on Twitter. And then, look at her response. Aw, you couldn't make them fit. Let me read you her job title again. Journalist, White House correspondent, and Washington bureau chief for American Urban Radio Networks. This is a professional journalist. Aw, you couldn't make them fit. All right, and the last series of tweets here. I'm at work. This is after I told her how to use the internet and how to click thumbnails. I am at work. Have a blessed day. I look forward to seeing some of your news stories. Well, I hope you see this one, because maybe you'll learn something. And then I respond hastily, can't admit when you're wrong. Great journalism. Keep it up. Yeah. So, look, this isn't completely April Ryan's fault. This is the Washington media bubble that they're in. There's a certain around that everyone talks to the same people. So they all sort of have the same views, unless you have a great journalist, off the top of my head, someone like Glenn Greenwald, who is outside of that and can pick apart what the media is getting wrong and what they're communicating incorrectly. And April Ryan is just she's just what comes out of that bubble. So, and the reason I wanted to correct her on this is a lot of journalists are saying the same thing, that Hillary Clinton is more electable. Look at her numbers against Trump. No, you look at her numbers against Trump. She's less electable than Bernie Sanders. The numbers are right there. You can't deny them. They keep denying them. They keep saying the wrong thing. They keep telling people the wrong facts. And it pisses me off because older people is an issue with Bernie Sanders. And the reason it's an issue is because they watch cable news. Older people watch cable news. And they're watching cable news and they're seeing the media discuss how Hillary Clinton is a more electable candidate than Bernie Sanders. And obviously nobody wants Trump in the White House. So people want to elect the more electable person. Well, if they actually had the facts, they would be voting for Bernie Sanders, not Hillary Clinton. But this is what keeps going on. It blows my mind. These people are professional journalists and they're saying the wrong things on television. That's why real media is online. You can't trust these people. You don't know anything. You don't know what they're saying is actually fact. They talk like they know what they're talking about. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about at all. And I mean, even Chris Hayes. I like Chris Hayes, but he kind of. You watch the video and see his response to this.
Yeah, it is true. He is right about that. The polling consistently shows him beating Trump, in some cases outperforming Hillary Clinton, but that's all academic at this point until the nomination security.
In some cases, outperforming Hillary Clinton. In some cases. No. Chris, you should know better. You should know what the numbers are, and I believe you're smart enough to know that. Not in some cases. In most cases. And look, go there, check these numbers for yourself. I just want to clarify that the way this lines up, it's not exact polling. So if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one down, there's Quinnipiac on Hillary's side. Yeah, on Hillary's side, and then PPP on Sanders' side. So right now, these columns aren't lining up. But if you go online and you check at the poll, look at the polls, look at the dates, and then compare the numbers. I did that back until, I think it was October, where I saw a poll. It was mid-November, October, where I saw a poll that wasn't just PPP, that was giving Hillary Clinton the lead. So check the numbers for yourself. Look, here's the data. I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to pretend here. These are the facts. You figure it out for yourself. And that's what journalists should be doing. So, yeah, that pissed me off. And this is constant. And what bugs me even more is that she thinks she's right. She thinks she knows what she's talking about, but she doesn't. She's wrong. She's factually wrong. The numbers show she is wrong. Do you think right now, if she's watching this, if she's ever going to see this, that she's accepting the fact that she was wrong? I don't know, because a lot of these people have this grandiose idea of themselves where they think that they're better than everybody else, that they know more than everyone else does. We have the same numbers that they do. Those are the numbers. Who's wrong?